quick shout outs to how Franky can make any scene better. God, I love him, and he has not failed to deliver. Like, just coming up late in his dumb little pose with his big old monkey. Like look at my guy. That's my dad, dude. Yeah, every character that I like is my dad. Cool. So, when last we left off, I had gotten through the first, basically just the introduction to Thriller Bark. Crew got to the main mansion. We were introduced to the big bads. Some souls get stolen. By souls, I mean shadows. Since then, I have pretty much finished Thriller Bark. But the problem is, there are too many fights in Thriller Bark. Thriller Bark is nothing but one long fight after the fighting starts, which isn't inherently bad. In fact, it's kind of dope. But we have established the zombies, and then somebody strong comes by and kicks the shit out of the zombies. Then we have establish special zombies, and then somebody strong comes by and kicks the shit out of the special zombies. Then we have establish zombie generals, and then we do it again. And then there's like the big three undead fellows, or however many. There's the goth chick, or the Hot Topic chick, who does ghost stuff, and I do love her. And then there's Dr. Man, Dr.
Hogback, yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Swine Stomach. And I don't even remember who. Oh, and then there's a pervert, not an okay comedy character, Invisible Man.
Yeah, I literally can't remember his name all of a sudden.
I do not like him.
I mean, that's fair.
But
I don't think anyone likes him, actually.
We get introduced into all of them, and then somebody stronger comes along and beats the shit out of them. And then we have special zombie giant with Luffy's shadow in it, and he has to be beat. And it took an entire volume just to do that. Like, even if you want to do like a combat arc in 3 acts, this one has no less than 5, because we haven't even started fighting the warlord yet.
Oh, you're right. I forgot about
I got through volume 49, which is the last one that says Thriller Bark on the spine. The next one, like the spine declares it to be the start of the next arc, which means this warlord is going to take less time to defeat than this big zombie.
Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, yeah, that whole like sequence of fights is definitely much different. And honestly, I like that fight with Oars, you know, the giant with Luffy's shadow in it, because I'm so glad that the Straw Hats get to just fight him together, you know? Like it's partially a 1v1 at one point when like Luffy comes in with his nightmare abilities. You got to that, right?
Yeah. So
okay.
Go ahead.
But I just like that all of the Straw Hats like actually get to do something during that fight, and it's not just Luffy has to win. Luffy has to be the one to win. Like that's how I wish Kaido was in Wano, you know? It's like
they do legitimately make an interesting like fight of it with like the Straw Hats taking turns and like using team tactics. They go to form a human mecha, and Robin refuses, which I appreciate.
Yeah, she's just like, I would die before I did that.
Yeah, it embarrasses her as a human being. But like, yeah, like there's legitimately interesting fighting happening there. And I do like how people who aren't Luffy got to be valuable even in beating Oars, right? Like, it's Chopper's a knowledge of anatomy and knowing how to like hyperextend the spine. Nami gets to make water, and like Franky gets to do big build like refrigerator hoe. Like everybody contributes to it in a way that is pretty nifty. And then you break a spine in a surprisingly like Mortal Kombat-esque move. But like in general, it took so long to get there, and like it's not that interesting along the way. There was some interesting stuff about like Nami and the crew figuring out that the zombies, even though they are being controlled by having the shadows, which are like a soul but not for the people, that it was like some level of like autonomy in them. Like Dr. Hogg's, like Dr. Pigbelly, he starts getting really, up himself about, the gift of life. And it gives like Chopper a genuinely nice moment where we get to have him express core beliefs about what makes somebody alive. And I do like that it is the character who is not a human who feels the most strongly about what it means to be human. Right? Like, I like that. There's a lot of like neat shit there.
Yeah, Chopper gets to actually have a nice moment, and he actually gets to like, because like I think it's built up nicely as well that like he knows who Hogback is, like he kind of reveres, or is that the right word?
Yeah.
And then when he finally meets Hogback, he's like, oh, you're actually awful.
Oh, you're a fucking monster.
And well, what about, did you like Zoro's fight? I mean, like that's not really much of a fight, but I just like that sequence.
Zoro's fight's over.
I like Zoro, but if you didn't know, I like Zoro.
Zoro's fight's kind of a nothing one. It was another example of like, why did we set this fight up? Like, the answer is to give Zoro a black blade.
And literally it doesn't even pay off until fucking Wano. Like
we gave him a MacGuffin sword.
Yeah.
And so like there was this big old fight. We got some Brook background, like because the samurai legend zombie was being powered by Brook's soul. So Brook got his shadow back. I will never like Brook. Nobody can make me, which is a shame because he could be so cool.
I don't know. We'll see. He might still.
No. Because I know what jokes they're going to hold on to. Speaking of that, but like as far as like the Zoro fight goes, it's visually kind of cluttered because it's just sort of sword. And that's actually something that I've noticed with a lot of Oda's fights is that individual panels are either cluttered or just sort of kind of confusing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do feel like most of Oda's fights are just kind of a means to an end, unfortunately. So it's like, I agree, like that fight choreography-wise isn't anything to write home about, but I like where it ends up. And I like that it's more of just kind of like I like short, sweet fights, especially like that, because you kind of like learn how it ended before you even like see the fight, too.
Yeah, and like, I also prefer short and sweet fights. I don't think it was that sweet, to be honest. But so speaking of jokes that they keep, fucking Brooke's going to continue to be a pervert. I know this. Speaking of perverts, special shout outs to Question Corner, where somebody asks an actually not even kind of pervy question about Khalifa's bubble suit or bubble fruit. Like, hey, is that a Logia or is that a Paramythia? Like, what is that? And Oda answers the questions. A little horny, but But the panel that he chooses to use is the one where she's molesting Nami. Shoutouts for horny Oda. Anyway, Sanji is not a character that I can defend anymore, which is unfortunate.
This is what I was expecting.
So at the end of the last episode, or during the last episode, you said it's like there's a part that you wanted me to get to, and I thought I got to it a couple of times. I thought because my go-to Oda doesn't really foreshadow shit is the fucking whale. I thought the fact that the whale was part of Brooke's background was the thing that you were waiting for.
Oh,
As
no.
like my textbook example of shit not mattering. By the way, I still don't think the whale matters. Like Brooke just named a person. It's not like Brooke could have had that promise with literally anybody. It's Brooke's reason for kicking around is he promised the whale that he would return. That's why it's trying to break into the Grand Line, blah, 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 blah. So first I thought it was that. And then I thought it was the moment where Chopper gets Dr. Pork Tummy in like a suplex position. And Robin creates like a bunch of feet underneath him to set up for like a 3-story Azuna drop to just absolutely wreck him. So then I thought it was that moment. And then the Sanji moment happens. So Absol, I think, is that like...
Absalom? Oh, yeah, that's his name.
Absalom is the Invisible Man. Incredible how you can see right through me. Scatman John. He's the one who's perving on Nami. He's the one who's forcibly trying to get her to marry him. Sanji goes to Nami's rescue. Fair enough. I almost threw my own notebook off the table with my sweaty hands. There are actually moments in this sequence that I genuinely enjoy from Sanji. But in a character moment that we have never even kind of alluded to before, Sanji as a child had read the Encyclopedia of Devil Fruit. Knowing that no two of the same devil fruit exists, he has been searching desperately for the Invisible Man devil fruit. It's the clear fruit. Now, here...
It's just so bad.
Here, a path diverts in the wood. On the one hand, a hee-hee-ha-ha joke character who is still morally defendable, and a character that you can never redeem past this point. Guess which one Oda went down? Sanji is yelling at Absalom, being righteously outraged. And he starts shouting, "You crushed my dreams. When I saw you with everything, with your invisibility, I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that I could never have that power. The power to sneak into any locker room that I want. I mean, think about all the lives I could save. He's more angry about losing the ultimate perversion power than he is anything else so far in the series. And it is what inspires him to beat Absalom. There is a series called Deep Space 69, which is a YouTube comedy shorts that's sort of a parody of all sci-fi. Primarily following a horny captain, much in the Captain Kirk style. And one of the plot lines is that he is being scouted by this intergalactic juggalo sort of group. And it finds out that the intergalactic juggalos are mind controlling the people that they're juggaloing. And Jay, not a very good character in any way, shape, or form, has one of the best lines I have ever heard. And if this line in some permutation was given to Sanji, we have solved Sanji forever. Jay goes, "My father was a legendary lady lancer, and he taught me cheap tricks, small dicks." Now, if instead of going, "I can never be the pervert I want to be because you're the Invisible Man and you stole my perversion capabilities from me," if instead of that Sanji went, "I knew I had to take this fruit because if anybody else had it, they would go on to be a pervert," And if you're gonna fuck women or be creepy towards women, you should do it by the suave of your own debonairity, right? Like if he went on like a moral stance about how like you have to woo women, you have to seduce them, you have to be worthy of their affection, still a creep most of the time, but there's something there. No, he doesn't do that though. So from now on, Sanji's dead to me. Unless season 2 of the live action like redeems him more.
Yeah, I mean, I think the live action will just redeem him in general, but I mean, I can't defend it. I just kind of have moved past it, I guess.
Right.
Because fortunately, that's like the only time that ever comes up. Like, well, that's false. It kind of comes back up in Wano, unfortunately. Another downside of Wano, I suppose. But yeah, it sucks.
It sucks.
And
God,
that's definitely like the thing that everyone points to when they talk about that arc, like not being great. But yeah.
I think it's the shiniest gem in the crown of shit, but I do think the rest of this crown is pretty shit, personally. Quick shout outs to how Franky can make any scene better. God, I love him, and he has not failed to deliver. Like, just coming up late in his dumb little pose with his big old monkey. Like, look at my guy. That's my dad, dude. Yeah, every character that I like is my dad. Brooke does some background shenanigans. Usopp beats the character whose power is the thoughts of suicide fruit, by being too pessimistic.
I love that. It's so good.
I think it was a funny fight. I do think they're being inconsistent. Because Usopp isn't affected because he's the most pessimistic man in the world, so he can't become more pessimistic. But when everybody else is hit by it, they're talking about wanting to die.
Yeah.
I don't, yes, there's pessimism there, but I think there's a little bit more going on.
Well, I think I mean, the idea is that the fruit, like, it, God damn it, I literally lost the word. Like, it fucking amplifies your negative feelings, but like Usopp has so many negative feelings already that they can't just be increased. Like his negative feelings are already saturated at 100%, so you can't make them more.
Right.
I feel like that's the idea. Like it doesn't necessarily have to make you want to commit suicide, but that's just kind of the joke that he uses for the other characters. Yeah, it's just a little inconsistent. But I think in general the fight's fun enough. There's a very good moment where she's running away from him because he's immune, but her big bear bodyguard is running after him, and he is running away from the bear, not necessarily running to her. Yeah.
Oh, how I dreamt of it. If I had that power, I'd go to the women's changing room and, I thought about how much good I could do with it. I'd go to the women's bath and, I could save so many lives with a power like that. Which is unfortunate, it's unfortunate rather, because there is a genuinely good moment there where he is taking Nami away from, he is holding Nami because Absalom's just more focused on killing him, and so Absalom's fuck collateral damage, and Sanji's keeping Nami safe, and she's in a wedding dress at this point, and he gets stabbed and he drops her. And Absalom's like, haha, I guess you didn't love this woman after all. And Sanji just goes, I didn't want to get blood on your wedding dress. And then, as he's being stabbed, grabs Absalom's invisible hand and starts kicking the shit out of him. It's genuinely cool action, but it's so irredeemable because of his motivations. And then Chopper talks about free will. The zombie with the thing about plates. Is Hogback gets real weird with her to prove like what the powers are. But Chopper's like, speech about free will and humanity gives her enough power to not resist, but like delay. And so there's that sort of like, what elements of themselves are still themselves bit. There's a pig zombie named Lola who deserves better. Her entire thing is she's trying to like wife Absalom, but Absalom's perving after Nami, so she goes after Nami, and then they become friends after Nami lies about being trans. Yeah, Pepperidge Farm remembers. Nami lies about being a guy to like get Lola to like not see her as a threat, and then Lola comes back and pretends to be angry at her, and basically is like, I know that you're a girl, but we're friends. Get out of here. I'll distract him. And fucking justice for Lola. Like, come on. And then in a very delightful sequence, Nami changes off screen. We don't see it happen. But she also doesn't do the rest of the fighting in a wedding dress because she's vaguely intelligent. Pirate Docking 6, Giant Robot Warrior, Big Emperor.
It's right there. You can see it.
Oh, yeah. I find it embarrassing as a human being. And then the oars fight just sort of goes on forever. There's a very good panel where they're all lining up to do violence to him when he gets his horn stuck.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love that.
They're going in for the big bully. We're introduced to Bartholomew Kuma, big bearman with the Bible.
He's like finally become. I mean, he's relevant for a long time, but like we're actually getting to really important stuff with him currently in the manga, and I'm super excited for it.
He gives us some background about Teach being the new warlord. And then he basically goes, hey, I'll help you if you ask. And Moira,
Moria. Like Mines of Moria.
He goes, nah, fuck you. Yeah, as far as plot goes, that's most of what happens up to this point. They stuff Luffy full of, like, shadows, and he becomes Frankenstein, and that's how they beat the thing. Quick shout-out to the cover of chapter 479, where it's Franky giving a bunch of orangutans matching tank tops and having them pose with him. Look at him. Look at how sweet and precious he is.
I'm glad that you care Franky so much.
That you care, Franky. Yes, I do care, Franky, and I am standing for him. No, I love Franky a bunch. Robin also gets to do things, but it's awkward when the cast has, like, 4 fighters, 2 of which are half fighters, and that's, like, not even counting, like, when there are so many fighters in the cast, Robin doesn't really get to do anything too impressive. She helps out, but, like,
yeah,
she's not the big threat she once was. In general, Thriller Bark sucks. Like, it's long. So much of this isn't going to leave the island. Brooke sucks. Like, I'm
not gonna defend it. It's definitely not like my favorite arc, but I definitely enjoyed it when I watched it.
Where we left off. So the next volume is going to be dealing with Moria. How do you solve a problem like Moria? And then introduce whatever the next arc is.
I mean,
and honestly,
what?
No, you did it.
I'm just excited for you to be done with Thriller Bark because honestly, it just gets better from there. in my opinion. Like, I think the next like 200 chapters are like prime One Piece and don't have any of the like, well, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what you think.
We're going to
some stuff.
Mermaid Island. There's going to be at least
Well,
some
Mermaid
of the bits
Mermaid
I don't
Island is not for a hot second, honestly. Like, that's what they said they're gonna do, but One Piece has its way of just kind of doing a lot of other shit before that ever happens.
Shit indeed. Now, Forrest, would you add it to your list?